everyone, welcome to the Learn with Sandra show channel. My name is Alexandra and I'm here to be your guide in your educational journey. So in today's video, we are going to be tackling the JAMB CBT past question for the subject English language year 2023, and we're going to be solving question 91 to 119. So today, we are going to be concluding on the 2023 English past question for JAMB, okay? So stay with me, don't go anywhere, and I'll be right back. Question 91 to 100 comes with a passage, so I'd advise you pause the video as it is being displayed on your screen. Make sure you pause and read and understand the context, understand the field. Okay, so moving on to question 91. So when solving register, there are two things you need to note. One, you need to understand the overall context. Two, you need to understand the context of the part labeled. Okay, so the overall context of this register is sports management, specifically football or soccer. It's also talking about team organization, right? Now, the next thing you need to note is the part label. Now, the part label 6 is talking about financial matters. So you look at the options. Which of the option is most appropriate when talking about financial matters or financial context? Is it late salaries? Is it hold salaries? Or is it outstanding salaries? So you would agree with me that the best answer to this question is option C. It is the most appropriate answer. Not that option A and B does not fit. It does. But the most appropriate is outstanding, because when we talk about outstanding, we are talking about due payments, an amount that is due. When we look at late, delay, when we look at owed, something that is yours but has not been given to you. But in the context of financial matters, outstanding is the best answer to this question. Question 92. Now, the part label 7 needs a word or a phrase that is related to financial matters. And how do we know this? Judging by the options provided. So the answer to this question is option C, match bonuses. And bonuses are additional payments given to players or workers aside their salaries or wages. So salaries and wages are synonymous, so you would definitely want to eliminate option A. So bonuses are additional payments given to players, based on their performance or based on the general outcome of the match. So option C is the final answer to this question. Now, not that option B and option D, match payments, match fees, are not applicable. They are, but it does not fit that context. Now, let me give an instance. Different professions have their garments or apparels. For example, as a doctor, you wear white coat or lab coat. As a nurse, you wear scrubs or nursing uniform. As a police officer or military personnel, you wear uniform. As a graduating student, you wear gown. Okay, as a lawyer, you wear robe. Now imagine someone saying the lawyer is wearing a gown. It makes sense, you can understand it, but it's not the appropriate word to use. You say the lawyer is wearing a robe, right? So same with these questions on that register. They give you options that are applicable, but they don't fit that context. They are not related to that field. Okay, so the best answer to this question is option C, match bonuses. Question 93. Now, when you take a look at the part label 8, you see that it needs a word that suggests motivation or encouragement, right? Now, let's take a look at the option. The first one is push. Push implies the use of force. It does not capture the idea of encouragement or motivation. Now, option B, spur, means encouragement and motivation, often by the use of incentives. And don't forget, we just talked about bonuses, so it relates to bonuses. And so the answer to this question is option B, spur. Now, when you take a look at option C, move, move implies motivation to inspire one into action, but it's not commonly used to mean encouragement or motivation compared to spur. Okay, and the last one, instigate. Instigate is a negative word. Okay, it is used in a negative manner. The answer to this question is definitely option B. Question 94. So the part label 9 needs a preposition. So you need to read the context well to be able to determine the best preposition to fill in the gap. So the answer to this question is from. Now, when you read the context well, you see that it's talking about the 4 points that have been derived or originated from many matches. Okay, so it implies that the right rangers have accumulated the 4 points in Group B, as a result of their performance, which has been gathered and accumulated from many matches. So it is easy to miss this. Okay, so when we think of art as a proposition, it means a specific time or location. Okay, when we think of in is inclusion within a space. When we think of with is association or accompaniment. So the answer to this question is option C from question 95. So the part label 10 needs to be filled with a verb. Okay, so the answer to this question is option C, avoid. Avoid means to keep away or to stay away. Okay, and in the context we see that the Bright Rangers need to avoid defeat. Okay, so option A is definitely a misspelling, and the correct spelling is in option B, afford. And afford is to have the resources to buy or do something. Now when we think of option D, annul is to cancel or nullify. So the best answer to this question is option C, avoid. Question 96. So for this part, the answer to this question is option C, running. So stay in the running is an idiomatic expression that means to remain competitive or to stay competitive. So the Bright Rangers need to stay in the running for the semi-finals. Okay, so this idiomatic expression is typical in a competition or a race, and this fits perfectly in the context because it is talking about a football competition, right? So the answer is no doubt option C, running. Question 97. So we need to fill in the part labeled 12. Okay, and the answer to this question is option A, showdown. Now what do we mean by showdown? Showdown is a competition or a contest between two opponents, one that is highly anticipated. Option B, blowout. Blowout is one-sided victory. Option C, show up is to arrive at the location. Option D, show is to display or present. So the answer to this question is option A, because that context talks about the coach wanting the players to be paid the August salary, as this will motivate them before the Al-Ahly dash, and that Al-Ahly dash is Al-Ahly competition. So the answer to this question is definitely option A, showdown. Question 98. Now the part label 13 is meant to be filled by something that suggests fulfilling an obligation, and that is what option C means. It means fulfilling an obligation promptly in accordance to the agreed upon schedule. Okay, and when you take a look at option A on time means punctually. Okay, but the best answer to this question based on context is option C, as a when due. Question 99. So we need to fill in the part label 14, and the best answer to this question is booster. What do we mean by booster? Booster is something that enhances or increases your morale. Okay, so the answer to this question is definitely option B. When we speak of inspire, one that inspires. Option C implies force. Okay, option D, boomer. It also means encouragement and motivation, but it does not fit the context. So the best answer to this question is option B, booster. Question 100. So the part label 15, and the answer to this question is option A, attack. So counter attack is a well-known tactic in football, and this is when a team defend against an opponent's attack and quickly launch their own attack. So the answer to this question is definitely option A, attack. Before we move on, I would like us to revisit a question that was brought to my attention, and that is question 42. So let's take a look at the context again. So the best answer to this question is option D, litigant. Now, who is a litigant? A litigant is a person involved in a lawsuit, either as a plaintiff or defendant. So it is safe to say that the answer to this question is litigant, since it is a broad term that talks about, one involved in a lawsuit. Okay, so defendant and plaintiff are both litigants. So it is safe to say that the Senate is constituting itself as a litigant. Okay, so if I say a Senate is constituting itself as a plaintiff or a defendant, it is me going overboard and assigning it a role. Okay, the most appropriate answer to this question is option G. So on this note, if you have a better explanation to any of the question, okay, please share with us in the comment section. So moving on to the next question. Question 101. So this question is under antonyms, okay, opposite in meaning. So it is inconceivable that the cat devoured the rat. Okay, so inconceivable is underlined and it means unbelievable. Option A, unimaginable means not imaginable, something you can't imagine. Option B, contestable means challengeable, debatable, something you can debate and argue about. Option C, incomprehensible. Incomprehensible means difficult to understand, so you don't understand, you can't comprehend. Option D, credible, is believable, is convincing. So the answer to this question is credible, since we're looking for the opposite in meaning. So option D is the final answer to this question. Question 102. Choose the option that has the same stress pattern as the given word. Now the word is student and it is stressed on the first syllable. Now, judging by the options provided, this question aims to test your knowledge on stress shift. Now, quickly, what is stress shift? Stress shift is the change in stress or the shift in stress from one syllable to another. And when this happens, two things happens. Okay, the first, it changes the meaning of the word. Two, it changes the word class. By word class, I mean noun, verb, adjective, and all of that. So when this happens, it is usually between noun and verb. So a noun becomes a verb when there's a shift in stress. Now let's use option C and D as an example. So refuse, you can see in brackets N means noun, V means verb. So option C, refuse, is a noun and it means food that has been discarded, well, that's been thrown away, right? So when you change it or you shift the stress from the first syllable to the second syllable, it becomes refuse, and that becomes a verb. Okay, and it means not willing to do something. So you can see the shift in meaning, the change in meaning and the change in word class by just changing the stress, by just shifting the stress from one syllable to another. Now option D, rebel. Rebel is someone who rises in opposition and the stress is on the first syllable. But when I say rebel, the stress is on the second syllable and it means to rise in opposition. That becomes the verb. So the question is stressed on the first syllable, student. The answer to this question is therefore option C, refuse. Okay, refuse is the noun. So option A, we have propose, is stressed on the second syllable. Superb is stressed on the second syllable. Rebel is stressed on the second syllable. But option C, refuse, is the noun form and it is stressed on the first syllable. So there are more examples of this stress shift that you need to learn. We have object, object, record, record, insult, insult. So it's a shift and a change from a noun to a verb, and a stress shift from the first syllable to the second syllable. So the answer to this question is definitely option C, refuse. Question 103. So this question is based on the Life Changer novel. What were Wumi's children waiting for when Bint narrates an encounter with Mr. Saliu? So the answer to this question is option A, their father, and we can find this on page 1. Okay, the first sentence says, as I quote, they were waiting for daddy. So the answer is option A, their father. Question 104. So choose the option that has the same consonant sound as the one provided. So the sound provided is. So how do we produce the sound? You just have to lift the tip of your tongue to touch the upper side of your teeth and then produce the sound. Make sure there is no vibration in the vocal cord because it is a voiceless sound. Okay, so what you have in option A is the voiced counterpart. Okay, so it's similar in producing, but the only difference is there's a vibration in the vocal cord. So you have, okay, so option B is elf, and that is the answer to this question. Option C can serve as a noun or a verb. Yeah, so for a noun it is the voiceless sound, but for a verb it is the voiced sound. So mouth can serve as a noun and a verb. Now when we say a verb, it means that you're saying something but you're not actually producing the sound. For example, so I have just mouthed. Okay, so you can see my lips moving, I'm saying something but the sound is not coming out. Okay, so that is mouth as a verb. Okay, so option D, neither, it has the voiced counterpart. So the answer to this question is no doubt option B, since it was not stated in option C that whether it's a noun or a verb. This is where critical thinking comes in. So you have to choose option B as the final answer to this question. Health. Question 105. So this question is based on the Life Changer novel. Where did the police appear entirely? The answer to this question is option C, at the palace of the Hakimi, and we can find this on page 22, chapter 3. So option C is the final answer to this question. So this question is also based on the Life Changer novel. Dash was always on the first row during prayer at his office. The answer to this question is option D, Tali, and we can find this on page 21. So we discover that Tali works at the local government office where he served as a driver. And we also discovered that he was always on the first row during prayer. So the answer to this question is no doubt option D, Tali. 107. So this question is under antonyms, opposite in meaning. So eating fresh fruits and vegetables is beneficial to one's health, while eating processed food is dash. So beneficial is underlined, and it means something that benefits you, you know, something that is favorable to your health, to your metabolism, okay, to your body. So the answer to this question is option D, harmful, because harmful is something that can potentially cause harm. So the answer is no doubt option D. Now for this question, you cannot rely on the negative and the positive indicator. Why? Because all the options are negative. Option A is negative, B is negative, C is negative, D is also negative. So you need to rely on the meaning of the word. Okay, so which we've already done. So option D is the final answer to this question. 108. So select the option that best explains the information conveyed in the sentence. The stadium had a capacity crowd in spite of the weather. So what does this mean? This means that despite the unfavorable weather condition, the people attended the event. Okay, so option A, the stadium was not filled because of the weather. That's not true according to the information conveyed in the sentence. Option B, the crowd defied the weather to fill the stadium. This is the answer to this question, because it means that, you know, the people were determined to attend the event despite the unfavorable condition of the weather. So option B is the final answer to this question. Question 109. So select the option that best explains the information conveyed in the sentence. The conference is biennial. So biennial means occurring or happening every 2 years. Okay, so option A, the conference lasts for 2 years. That's not the answer. Option B, the conference is held once every other year. Now this is the answer to this question, because once every other year implies alternating with a year in between. So it means when the conference is held this year, the next year we skip the next year rather, and then the following year it happens again. So it keeps repeating this pattern. Okay, so it is held every 2 years. Okay, option C, the conference is held twice every year. No. Option D, the conference is held twice in 2 years. No. So the answer to this question is option B. So biennial means every 2 years. Okay, annual means every year, biennial every 2 years, triennial every 3 years, quadrennial every 4 years, quinquennial every 5 years, sextennial every 6 years, and so on and so forth. So the answer to this question is no doubt option B. Question 110. So select the option that best explains the information conveyed in the sentence. Only 2 ministers survived the recent cabinet reshuffle. Now this question is a little bit tricky, but I want you to concentrate on the number of ministers that survived, the numbers of ministers that were favored, you know, that retained their position. They are just 2. Okay, so this way you can avoid unnecessary, you know, confusion. Okay, so option A, in recent changes in government, all but 2 ministers retained their posts. Now this implies that all retained their posts except 2. So 2 didn't retain, and that's not true. Okay, that's not the interpretation. Option B, in the recent changes in government, all but 2 ministers remained alive. This is out of context. Okay, it doesn't speak about whether some ministers died or are still alive. So option C, in recent changes in government, all but 2 ministers were sacked. So 2 ministers survived, all were sacked. This is the answer to this question. Okay, option D, in recent changes in government, only 2 ministers were sacked. Okay, two ministers were sacked, and this is not the answer. Nearly all were sacked. Nearly all didn't retain their position except 2. Okay, so option C, you know, conveys the idea that 2 were favored, 2 retained their position, 2 survived. So option C is the final answer to this question. Now in this question, choose the option that best completes the gap. The proprietor of our school with his administrator dash expected yesterday. Now this question is under rule of concord. Now there's a rule that states that when any other conjunction apart from and is used to link 2 subjects, the verb must agree with the first subject. Now you can see that with is in this question. So other conjunctions include with, no less than, together with, and so on and so forth. So with is in this question, and so it should follow this rule. Okay, so the verb should agree with the first subject, which is the proprietor. So the proprietor is singular, right? So we are looking for a singular verb. Now when you take a look at the question, you also see expected yesterday. That implies that the action happened in the past. So we are looking for a singular but a past tense, okay, singular past tense form. Okay, so let's take a look at the options. Option A, are is a present tense and it is plural, right? It is plural. Option B is singular. Option C was is singular. Option D were plural. Okay, now let's take a look at the tense. Option A is a present tense. Option B is a present tense. Option C is the past tense. Option D is the past tense. So having analyzed this, you see that option C is the final answer to this question because it is singular and it is a past tense. So the proprietor of our school with his administrator was expected yesterday. So option C is the final answer to this question. 112. So choose the option that is nearest in meaning to the underlying word. In Nigeria, it is a crime to plagiarize someone else's work. So the answer to this question is option B. But let's start with the first option. Option A, initiate means to start or begin. Option B, pirate is to copy somebody else's work and use them as though they are yours. Option C, compose is to write or create. Option D, desecrate. When we think of that word, we think of a church setting, violating something that is considered sacred or holy. Okay, so what does plagiarize means? Plagiarize is to copy somebody's work and use them as though they are yours without giving credit to the actual owner. So the answer to this question is no doubt option B, since we are looking for the nearest in meaning, which is under synonyms, right? Okay, so previously we talked about, or we addressed stress shifts, and this is another example, option B. So pirate is the noun, the stress is on the first syllable. Pirate is the verb, which with the stress on the second syllable. Okay, so this is an example of it. So that's, by the way, option B is the final answer to this question. Question 113. He started his career as a Dutch teacher. So the answer to this question is option D, auxiliary. Okay, option A, B, and C are misspelling. So the correct spelling is AUXILIARY. So auxiliary has just one L. So please take note. So option D is the final answer to this question. 114. Choose the interpretation that you consider most appropriate for each sentence. What I told you is the gospel truth. This means that the information is dash. So the answer is the information is true. So option D is the final answer to this question. Now, the phrase the gospel truth is an idiomatic expression. Idiomatic expressions are known to be figurative in nature. So what this means is they have elements of figurative expressions such as simile, metaphor, personification, and so on. Okay, so they are figurative in nature. So just like the gospel, like the teaching of Jesus Christ is considered to be true. So the answer is completely true. Option D is the final answer to this question. 115. So choose the option that has the same vowel sound as the one represented by the letters on the line. So the letter on the line in the word casualty is letter A and it is pronounced as A. Okay, so option A we have sure, option B we have amateur, option C we have juice, option D we have aesthetic. So the answer to this question is option B, amateur, and we can see that letter A in the word amateur is also pronounced as A. Okay, so option B is the final answer to this question. 116. Choose the word that has the same consonant sound as the one represented by the letters on the line. So the word is marks, and we see K and S is on the line. Okay, so this is what we call consonant clusters. Consonant cluster is the combination of two or more sound at a stretch in a word. So we have K and we have S. Okay, so option A we have exhaust, option B we have axe, option C we have musk, option D we have exist. So the answer to this question is option B. As you can see, the consonant cluster, the same one on the line in the question, K and S together. So what you have in option C is S and K. Okay, but what we are looking for is K and S. Okay, so option B is the final answer to this question. Question 117. So from the words lettered A to D, choose the word that rhymes with the given word below. So the word is speech. Now when solving rhyme scheme, don't forget you start with the last sound, and the last sound or the end sound in the word peach is ch. So let's take a look at option A. We have witch. Option B we have list. Option C we have bleach. Option D we have bite. So option A we have the ch sound. Option C we also have the ch sound. So we will discard option B and D. So the second to the last sound in the word peach is E sound. Okay, is a short sound. So we can find that sound in option A, but what we have in option C is the long E sound. So Option A is the final answer to this question because it is the last word standing. Okay, so option A is the correct answer. Question 118. So this question is based on the Life Changer novel. Why did Habib call Tomiwa instead of Salma that he gave a ride? So the answer to this question is option B, and we can find this on page 36. So you need to read from 36 to 38 to understand this, okay? So we discovered that Salma gave Habib Tomiwa's number because she was not just interested in Habib, and so Habib called Tomiwa thinking that Tomiwa was Salma. So the answer to this question is option B. Question 119. So this question is based on the Life Changer novel. Ada and Ngozi were from the Imo State and Benue State, while Salma and Tomiwa were from dash and dash. So the answer to this question is option C, North and West. And you can find the answer on page 33 and 34. Okay, so it was discovered in a text that Tomiwa is from Oyo State, and that's the West, and Salma is from the North. Okay, so North and West respectively. So option C is the final answer to this question. Okay guys, so we've come to the end of this lesson. We have just concluded the 2023 past question for the subject English language, and I am super excited about this, and I can't wait to tackle more questions together with you guys. Do not forget to give me a thumbs up, click on the subscribe button, and do well to tap on the bell notification to get informed as soon as I release the next video. Thank you once again for staying tuned, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.